The Bible is a vast and complex book filled with many different types of literature. One of these types is wisdom literature. Wisdom literature, found in books like Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job, explores the great questions of life, like the meaning of suffering and the nature of God. These books don't tell stories of historical events or lay out strict rules to follow. Instead, they offer reflections on human experience and the search for wisdom in a complicated world. These books encourage us to think deeply about life, death, and our relationship with the divine. They grapple with the challenges of understanding God's ways and finding meaning in the face of suffering. While Proverbs offers practical advice for daily living and Ecclesiastes contemplates the fleeting nature of life, the book of Job tackles the age-old question: why do bad things happen to good people? At the heart of the book of Job is a man named, Job. He's described as a blameless and upright man, someone who feared God and shunned evil. Job was wealthy with many possessions, a large family, and a comfortable life. He was, by all accounts, a blessed man. Job's story is not a historical account, but a poetic exploration of faith and suffering, a story that still resonates thousands of years later. Job's life represents the ideal life, reflecting the belief that righteousness leads to prosperity. However, his seemingly perfect life is about to be turned upside down, challenging everything he thought he knew about God, justice, and the meaning of suffering. Job's story forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that sometimes bad things happen to good people. The story of Job begins not on earth, but in the heavenly court. God is holding court with his angels, and among them is a figure known as the accuser or the Satan. The accuser questions Job's motives, suggesting that Job only serves God because of the blessings he enjoys. He proposes a test: strip Job of everything he holds dear and see if his faith remains steadfast. God, confident in Job's righteousness, agrees to the test, allowing the accuser to inflict suffering on Job. It's important to note that God sets boundaries on the accuser's actions. Job's life is placed in a precarious position, caught in a cosmic wager between God and the accuser. This setup immediately raises questions about human free will and the nature of divine intervention. Tragedy strikes Job with terrifying speed and ferocity. In a series of devastating events, Job loses his wealth, his children, and even his health. He is struck with painful sores that cover his entire body. Job is left with nothing but his agonizing pain and his unwavering faith. Despite the unimaginable suffering he faces, Job's initial response is remarkable for its piety. He tears his clothes, shaves his head in mourning, and falls to the ground in worship, saying, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job's initial response highlights the depth of his faith and his acceptance of God's sovereignty. As Job grapples with his devastating losses, three friends come to comfort him. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, believing they are offering wisdom and solace, present Job with the traditional view of suffering. It is a consequence of sin. They argue that Job must have committed some hidden sin to deserve such punishment. Job's friends, though well-intentioned, represent a common human response to suffering, the need to find an explanation, often blaming the victim. Their words, meant to comfort, instead add to Job's anguish. Job vehemently denies their accusations, maintaining his innocence and challenging the idea that his suffering is a direct result of his actions. He rails against the injustice of his situation, questioning God's fairness and demanding an explanation. Section 6. The Voice from the Whirlwind. After much debate and despair, God finally responds to Job. However, his response is not what Job expects. God appears to Job not in a gentle whisper, but in a whirlwind, a display of awesome power and majesty. He doesn't offer a simple explanation for Job's suffering or directly address the accusations of the accuser. Instead, God takes Job on a cosmic tour, describing the wonders of creation, the complexity of the natural world, and the limits of human understanding. He reminds Job of the vastness of the universe and the insignificance of humanity in comparison to the Creator. God asks Job a series of rhetorical questions, highlighting the limitations of human knowledge and the unfathomable nature of divine wisdom. Section 7. Accepting the unknowable. Confronted with the awe-inspiring power and wisdom of the Creator, Job experiences a profound shift in perspective. He recognizes the limitations of his own understanding and the arrogance of demanding answers from the Almighty. Job acknowledges that he had spoken out of turn, questioning things beyond his comprehension. Job's realization is not a sign of defeat, but a moment of profound spiritual growth. He humbles himself before God, accepting that some things are simply beyond human comprehension. He comes to understand that true wisdom lies in acknowledging the mystery of God's ways and trusting in his ultimate goodness, even when those ways seem inscrutable. Section 8. A time for restoration. After Job's humble acceptance, God rebukes his friends for their misguided counsel and their failure to grasp the true nature of righteousness and suffering. He then blesses Job abundantly, restoring his health, wealth, and family. Job is given twice as much as he had before, a testament to God's grace and compassion. Job's restoration is not a reward for passing a test or a vindication of the prosperity gospel. It is an act of divine grace, a testament to God's unwavering love for his creation, even in the midst of suffering. The book concludes with Job living a long and prosperous life, surrounded by his loved ones, a symbol of hope and restoration after unimaginable pain. Section 9. Enduring wisdom. The book of Job is not a simple story with easy answers. It is a complex exploration of faith, suffering, and the limits of human understanding. It doesn't offer a neat explanation for why bad things happen to good people. Instead, it grapples with the mystery of suffering and the enduring power of faith in the face of adversity. Job's story teaches us that sometimes there are no easy answers to life's toughest questions. It encourages us to trust in God's wisdom and goodness, even when we don't understand his ways. It reminds us that suffering is a part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to destroy our faith. In the end, Job's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of hope, even in the darkest of times.